Hello, friends and dear viewers. Welcome to this current session wherein we are going to continue our topic. We all know we are discussing about the structure as well as the composition of atmosphere. In this connection, my dear friends, we were dealing with the processes called evaporation as well as transpiration. I think I made it very clear for you about what we literally mean about evaporation as well as transpiration. Now, let's jump on to our next thing, that is dust particles. So, dust particles are generally found in the lower layers of the atmosphere. Of course, friends, so far we did not went into details, I think, about our classification or the divisions in the atmosphere. So what the lower layers means, let's discuss in our following paragraphs. And these dust particles are found in the form of sand, smoke, soot, oceanic salt, ash, pollen, etc. Of course, higher concentrations of dust particles is found in subtropical and temperate regions. This is due to dry winds in comparison to equatorial and polar regions. Of course, friends, here I need to clarify you, or I need to clear what subtropical means and what temperate regions means. Of course, the equatorial regions and polar regions. Friends, we are all of the opinion that our recent sessions, the topics which we have covered in our recent episodes. One thing we can observe, that is these things which were discussed in our earlier sessions. They are having their origins in the discipline geography, because I remember that in one of our earlier sessions, while studying about the Earth's crust, we went about that geomorphology. That is one of the branches of geography. And while discussing about, I think, the structure of atmosphere only, and that too, while discussing about the rainfall, etc., then we are supposed to go through that climatology part. And likewise, now, while discussing about the dust particles, which is our current topic, as we came across through some technical terms like subtropical, temperate, equatorial, as well as polar regions. Friends, I think it's appropriate for us to know about the structure of globe and how the globe has been divided or distributed to study in detail about. We all know that the globe is being it is divided in terms of latitudes as well as longitudes. Friends, latitudes are the horizontal lines that are drawn on the globe. Latitudes are the horizontal lines drawn on the globe. These latitudes, if we observe, then we can find all these things. The equatorial region, the subtropical, the temperate, and the polar, etc. If we study these horizontal lines, the latitudes, the 0 degree latitude, which is located at the center of the globe is called as equator. Is called as equator. Of course, the region which falls at the equator is called as equatorial region. Friends, we need not go into detail what we have about, what we have in this equatorial region and all. Uh, I want to emphasize that what equatorial region means and what the subtropical, etc., XYZ. In that sense, the 0 degree latitude, which which is very much present at the center of the equator, the center of the globe is called as equator. And moving towards north, 23 and a half degrees latitudes, you find Tropic of Cancer. And likewise towards south, you find Tropic of Capricorn. That is Tropic of Capricorn. Of course, for studying, for geographical studies, and particularly with reference to the climatology or oceanography, we need to know very well about these regions. Of course, friends, country like India is basically, you can call it as a subtropical country. Tropics means where you find, heat. You find good amount of heat there, a scorching sunlight, heat, moisture content, the humidity. You find all these things more. You find all these things more in equator. You find more in equator. But subtropical and temperate regions, these two words we have discussed in our earlier paragraph. That is, higher concentration of dust particles is found in subtropical and temperate regions due to dry winds in comparison to equatorial and polar regions. So, friends, it is clear that subtropical and temperate regions. Subtropical means, my dear friends, the region. While dividing this globe horizontally through latitudes, the region anything between, around 30 degrees, that might be south or north, doesn't matter. That area you can probably take as, subtropical region, anything around 25 to 30 degrees. And again, here, my dear friends, one more region, that is temperate region. Temperate region is nothing but the region which is horizontally divided by the latitudes at about, around 40 degrees, like that. Maybe in between 35 to 40 degrees. You can call it as a temperate region, my dear friends. And of course, the region which is around 60 degrees of north or south, you can call as subpolar regions. And of course, 90 degrees north and south are generally called as they are the polar regions. Of course, the activities are very much limited in polar regions. For better activity of any kind, human beings or living beings, they are very much confined to subtropical, subpolar regions. Um, Subtropical and temperate regions. Here we find dry winds. We need not go into detail, friends. So, higher concentration of dust particles is found in subtropical and temperate regions due to dry winds in comparison to equatorial and polar regions. So, with this statement or with this paragraph, we are knowing that the equatorial and polar regions, they have somewhat humidity. Humid or wet conditions will be prevailing in equatorial and polar regions. And next, these dust particles help in the condensation of water vapor. Of course, friends, we have discussed about the precipitation. What does it mean in our earlier session? And once again, I will, go through it. Condensation of water vapor means nothing but it is the rainfall. It is the process of rainfall. And during the condensation, water vapor gets condensed in the form of droplets around these dust particles, and thus clouds are formed. So, friends, this paragraph has given us a clarity about the cloud formation, the process of rainfall. Also, the process means of rainfall is nothing but the precipitation. Of course, condensation is a process where formation of droplets where formation of droplets by this water vapor around the dust particles. So apparently or indirectly, these dust particles they are playing a major role in the rainfall process. In the rainfall process. Okay. Now we are going into the structure of the atmosphere. The atmosphere can be divided into 5 layers. Atmosphere can be divided into 5 layers. For our convenience sake, my dear friends, this is accordingly to the diversity of temperature and density. Atmosphere can be divided into 5 layers according to the diversity of temperature and density. They are the troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere. It is also called ionosphere, friends. Thermosphere is also called as ionosphere. The last one is the exosphere. Friends, here I am giving you a beautiful illustration wherein we can see the vertical division of atmosphere in terms of troposphere, the stratosphere, the mesosphere, thermosphere, and exosphere. For general understanding, my dear friends, if we imagine the region from the earth's surface to 8 kilometers vertical, that area is called as troposphere. That area is called as troposphere. And the area between 8 kilometers up to 50 kilometers can be classified as stratosphere. Likewise, the region falling between 50 kilometers to 80 kilometers vertically, it comprises of mesosphere. And again, the region above 80 kilometers and below 400 kilometers vertical, it is called as thermosphere or ionosphere. The region above 400 kilometers vertical can be called as exosphere. Can be called as exosphere. The main composition of atmosphere is generally confined to troposphere only, whereas stratosphere generally consists of the ozone layer, where we can see the movement of the jet aircrafts, etc. And in mesosphere, we can see the meteorites. We can see the meteorites. And of course, in the region of thermosphere, in the region of thermosphere, we can see the aurora lights. We can see the aurora lights. And anything above 400 kilometers, my friends, anything above 400 kilometers, we can see the existence of space shuttles. We can see the existence of space shuttles. That is, they are confined to exosphere. So, troposphere generally consists of maximum content of atmosphere, and of course, ozone layer is confined to stratosphere, meteorites to mesosphere, auroralites to thermosphere, and space shuttles to exosphere. Right, friends. Let's move on to troposphere. Here, troposphere. It is the lowermost layer of the atmosphere, and the height of this layer is about 18 kilometers on the equator and 8 kilometers on the poles. I repeat once again, friends. The height of this layer is about 18 kilometers on the equator and 8 kms on the poles. The thickness of troposphere is greatest at the equator because because heat is transported to great heights by strong convectional currents. Friends, there are things like conduction, convection, and radiation. These three things are something to do with heat, the subject heat, and we can know well about these things while going through the subject physics. I mean physical science. Convection is one of the process through which heat is transformed. Okay. I repeat once again, the thickness of the troposphere is greatest at the equator because heat is transported to great heights by strong convectional currents. Troposphere contains dust particles and water vapor. This is the most important layer of the atmosphere because why? Here all kinds of weather changes takes place because all kinds of weather changes takes place. Troposphere is the most important layer of the atmosphere because all kinds of weather changes takes place, and the air never remains static in this layer. This is most important one and interesting thing. The air never remains static in troposphere. Therefore, this layer is called changing sphere or troposphere because the air is never static in troposphere. Hence, this layer is called as the changing sphere or troposphere. The environmental temperature decreases with increasing height of the atmosphere. The environmental temperature decreases with increasing height of the atmosphere. Of course, friends, one more thing also I need to discuss. The current statement here, not only temperature should be discussed because what the current statement tells us, the environmental temperature decreases with increasing height of the atmosphere. So, it is very much necessary for us to talk about the pressure also. Pressure. It is relatively important with temperature because both are related. Inversely, they are related. Here, this paragraph says The environmental temperature decreases with increasing height of the atmosphere. Likewise, with increase with increasing height of the atmosphere, with increasing height of the atmosphere, there we can find there we can find increase there we can find increase in pressure. I just now stated that pressure and temperature both are inversely proportional. When temperature decreases, the pressure increases, and the pressure decreases, then temperature increases. Right. The environmental temperature decreases with increasing height of the atmosphere. It decreases at the rate of 1 degree Celsius for every 165 meters of height. So friends, the decrease of temperature is at the rate of 1 degree Celsius for every 165 meters of height, and this is called as normal lapse rate. The process of decrease in the rate of temperature at the rate of 1 degree Celsius for every 165 meters of height is called as normal lapse rate. And the zone separating the troposphere from the stratosphere is known as tropopause. Tropopause. The air temperature at the tropopause is about 80 degrees Celsius over the equator and about minus 45 degrees Celsius over the poles. You make a note, my friends. The air temperature at the tropopause is about 80 degrees Celsius over the equator and about minus 45 degrees Celsius over the poles. The temperature here is nearly constant, and hence it is called tropopause. Friends, as the temperatures are constant in the troposphere, that particular region is called as tropopause. Now let's move on to stratosphere. Stratosphere is found just above the troposphere. Stratosphere is found just above the troposphere, and it extends up to a height of 50 kilometers. It extends up to a height of 50 kilometers. The temperature remains almost the same in the lower part of this layer up to the height of 20 kilometers. And after this 20 kilometers, the temperature increases slowly. The temperature increases slowly with the increase in the height. With the increase in the height, the temperature increases due to the presence of ozone gas in the upper part of this layer. Friends, let's go back. The temperature remains almost the same in the lower part of this stratosphere up to the height of 20 kilometers, and it is only after this 20 kilometers mark the temperature starts increasing, and that too slowly with the increase in the height. And this increase in temperature in height is basically due to the presence of ozone gas in that particular area. So it's implied, or it's an implication that ozone has the nature of increasing the temperatures, right? Okay. Weather related incidents do not take place in this layer. One more important and interesting points, my friends. Weather related incidents do not take place in this layer, I mean stratosphere. The air blows horizontally, and therefore this layer is considered ideal for flying of aircrafts. So we need to recollect once again. As if I said in my earlier session, and of course starting of this session also, that in this stratosphere layer where particularly ozone is present, and in that particular zone only jet aircrafts used to operate. They used to shuttle in that particular area. So I think it is clear for you with this line that because the air blows horizontally, which is very conducive, or which is good, or which is comfortable, so that aircrafts, particularly jet aircrafts, which move or which fly in high altitudes with higher speed levels, they move in this stratosphere. This is just because in this stratosphere the air blows horizontally. So it accelerates the speed of the aircrafts. That is the main reason why these jet aircrafts are moving through stratosphere, right? The upper limit of the stratosphere is known as stratopass. And one important feature of stratosphere is that it contains a layer of ozone gas. The relative thickness of the ozone layer is measured in Dobson units. Make a note, my dear friends, make a note. The relative thickness of the ozone layer is measured in Dobson units. Is measured in Dobson units. It is mainly found in the lower portion of the stratosphere, from approximately 20 to 30 kilometers above the Earth's surface. It contains a higher concentration of ozone in relation to other parts of the atmosphere. And in the region of the stratosphere that absorbs most of the sun's ultraviolet radiations. It is a region of the stratosphere that absorbs most of the sun's ultraviolet radiations. Friends, in our earlier discussion, or I think in one of our earlier discussions, I particularly mentioned that due to holes in this ozone layer, or due to depletion of this ozone layer, these ultraviolet radiations, they are, moving moving through, and they are striking the earth's surface. It is always dangerous for the human beings as well as all kinds of life forms, because these ultraviolet radiations, they leads to various types of cancers, and particularly the skin cancers in case of the human beings. So ultraviolet radiations are never good for the for any kind of life forms that are existing on planet Earth. Okay, with this, friends, I think I should conclude and hope we'll have the next session with mesosphere. So I think, my dear friends, you have enjoyed this session, and let's meet in our next session. Thank you. Thank you, one and all.